everyone, it's Zahava. Welcome back to the channel. As you have probably guessed from the title of today's video, we are going to be doing a booktube anti-TBR tag. This is a video that I saw other YouTubers doing. I think the original one is accredited to Nicole and her books, and I will leave the link to her video in the description below so you guys could go and check that out. But I thought that doing an anti-TBR video would be a really fun way to connect with you guys and let you know all the things that I'm probably not going to be reading. And I thought it would just be like a good time. So without further ado, let us get into the questions and answers. So the first question asks you to find a popular book that everyone seems to love that you have no interest in reading. So I have a few answers to this question because who would I be if I didn't break the rules? And I think the first one that comes to mind is Project Hail Mary. And this should not surprise some of you if you have been around since the dawn of the channel, because I did try and read The Martian and I found it very tech heavy for me, like just a little too much for my brain. So I don't think I'm going to be reading any more Andy Weir. I don't know. It's just not going to happen for me. I think it's a little too high tech for my brain in terms of sci-fi. So that is one that is much beloved by many, many readers. And for whatever reason, it's just not for me. The second one that I have absolutely no interest in reading is going to be Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I just don't do very well with litfic in general. I don't know what it is about the book. It could be the hype. It could be the genre. I don't know. It could just be the cover art. I think it's because for one reason or another, I get the idea that that book is something of an existentialist work. And due to many forced high school readings of The Stranger by Albert Camus and Catcher in the Rye and other existentialist works that we were forced to read as children that we really didn't connect with or care about, I feel like Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is giving me that vibe just by the title, and I don't think I'm ever going to read it. And I could be totally wrong also, but I don't think I'm ever going to read it. I'm also never going to read Legends and Lattes. I love a fantasy, but cozy fantasy, I don't know. Cozy fantasy romance, even less likely that I'm going to read that unless it's written by T. Kingfisher. And then the last one that I'm not very likely to read that's a super popular book is going to be Martyr. And again, you know, I don't do too well with litfic. I'm more of a subgenre reader myself. If I am going to read any litfic, it has to lean one way or another towards like magical realism, or in the case of Remarkably Bright Creatures, which I really enjoyed and gave 5 stars to, that is because one of the point of view characters in that novel is an octopus, and that's not likely to happen in reality. I think what I don't like necessarily about litfic is that it could technically happen. But then again, that's a generalization because I will read Liane Moriarty and that is litfic and that reads for me fine. And certain of Jodi Picoult's books read fine for me as well. So I don't know, maybe I just don't like the cover. So question number 2 is a classic book or author that you have no interest in reading. And again, many, many answers for this question for me. So we're just going to kind of list them off. Let's start with Anna Karenina. I will never read Animal Farm or 1984 or Crime and Punishment or The Great Gatsby. I will pretty much not read any classic work of fiction because they are just so boring. And honestly, the reason why is because when I was in university, I took a major in English literature. That was my program. And I did have to read a lot of classics. And I don't know, I'm just turned off by them. Like, I don't want to spend my leisure time reading classics because in my mind, for some reason, classics are something that you always had to read for school. And so it created a kind of disconnect with me. So I'm pretty much not reading any classics with the exception of Winnie the Pooh and Alice in Wonderland. And even then, when I started those books, I ended up getting bored and like DNFing them. So even if I go with my best foot forward or try my hardest and darndest to get into a story that I already love, chances are I'm probably not going to stick with it. So classics are just not my bag. Number 3 asks you to find an author whose books you have absolutely no interest in reading. And boy, oh boy, we could just make a video entirely on all of this, but I'm going to try not to do that for you. So I'll just list off a few. Sarah J. Maas is going to be the first one that comes to mind. I think that that's mostly because new adult romantasy is just not my bag. And I have never read her work before, but I feel like her writing probably would read a little bit weak for me in terms of structure and perhaps maturity. But then again, I'm judging a book that I've never read. So, I mean, take that with a grain of salt, but I will probably never read that because I'm not into that type of book, I guess, which is like mass hysteria romantasy. You know, it's just not something that I'm likely to read. And along the same lines of Sarah J. Maas, I'm probably not going to read Abby Jimenez because again, this is contemporary romance. It's not really my bag. I won't read Sally Rooney. I don't know why. I have no interest in reading Frederick Bachman, and this one kind of puzzles me a little bit because I know that his books are so well received by a great many of you. I actually don't even know what exactly it is that he writes. So maybe you guys can let me know what types of books he writes in the comments, because I do see his name everywhere. And I don't know, maybe it's just because there are so many of his books and I might feel a little bit intimidated by that, if I'm honest. So is it litfic? Is it like magical realism? What exactly is Frederick Bachman writing? And are there any other authors that you could compare him to that maybe I would know those authors? Let me know in the comments, because I think that one of the major reasons I haven't picked up a Frederick Bachman book is because I'm terrified that, I don't know, there's just so many, and I don't know if they're written as series or if they're written as standalones, so I will need your advice in the comments of how to handle that author. Question number 4 asks you to find a problematic author whose books you have no interest in reading. So for me, that author is going to be Neil Gaiman, but it's not going to be for the reasons that you think. The reason that I don't want to read Neil Gaiman is not because of whatever is currently going on with this author or whatever press he's currently getting. It's really just because I saw the American Gods TV series and I was bored to tears with it. And honestly, when you have a bad adaptation, like a book to screen adaptation, for me, it could like kill the book or kill the author. And I just did not find the American Gods TV series very interesting. So I kind of skipped Good Omens as well. And you probably won't be surprised to hear that, because if you've been following me for some time, you will also know that I have DNF Terry Pratchett before. Yeah, so I'm not really interested in reading any Neil Gaiman, but it really has nothing to do with whatever personal scandal he is involved in or allegedly involved in. It's really just because I didn't care for Shadow's name as a character, honestly. And in American Gods, I really didn't like the angle that he took with the character. So the cheating girlfriend died and then she came back to life and Shadow was like still in love with her. So I don't know, I didn't like that storyline. So I think I wrote off Neil Gaiman just based on the TV series, which is neither logical nor fair, but such is life. Question number 5 asks you to look at an author who you've read a couple of times but have decided that their books are just not for you. For me, that author is going to be Stephen Graham Jones. And I am devastated by that, honestly, because I tried the Buffalo Hunter and I did try that one on audio, but I found, I guess, that the mood was very somber, or that I couldn't tell who was talking, because I think the Buffalo Hunter, and you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe that it's a story within a story. So on the audio version, I did have trouble differentiating who was talking. I think I tried to listen to the first chapter a few times. I couldn't get into it. Then I tried Mongrels, and unfortunately I had to DNF that one as well. I think that Stephen Graham Jones is an extremely talented writer, but he demands a lot of his readers, and I am not willing to go on that kind of an adventure, honestly. Like, it makes me feel, like in the case of Mongrels, I think there's just something in general about his style that doesn't jive with me in terms of flow and ease of reading and accessibility. I did appreciate what he did in Mongrels, so if you've read Mongrels, you'll understand what I mean. I love the way that the little boy main character, whose name I can't remember, was always being referred to as whatever costume he happened to be wearing. Like if he was dressed up as a policeman or a cowboy, he would say the cowboy's uncle or the policeman's uncle or the spaceman's uncle or aunt or whatever. And I like that stylistically, but on my brain with my life being what it is, just hectic and all that, it requires too much of me, energetic wise, to get into the tone of the novel. And I don't know, I think he's just a brilliant writer, but not for me, and I really wish that it were not the case, and that's the God's honest truth. So number 6, a genre that you have no interest in or just can't get into. And for me, of course, predictably, it is going to be the romance genre. And I think that I need to sort of qualify this for everybody, because I have no problem with a novel in which a romantic relationship is explored. But I think what bothers me about the romance genre is that it is the integral part of the story and not just an element of it. And that's what kind of bothers me. So there's certain stories like in Live Ship Traders where romances are happening, and you know, I don't want to spoil it for like anyone who hasn't read it yet, but there are romances that happen in that story and you don't know necessarily if the people are going to stay together or not, and that I can get behind. The thing about the romance genre is that it's a guarantee. 110% of the time, the people that you are shipping are going to get together. And that's what you go to the romance genre for. But for me, it kind of leads to a kind of boring plot line. Like, I have no problem. Don't get me wrong. I love a rom-com. I will watch any Sandra Bullock movie that you put in front of me, and I will watch it very happily. It is my guilty pleasure. Think While You Were Sleeping, think 2 Weeks Notice, that type of thing. I am all about that. It's an hour and a half of my life that I'm really, really happy to spend watching a rom-com. But in a book, I don't know. I don't have the kind of energy or patience to deal with such a boring plot line. I DNF'd Emily Henry's Beach Read. I could not get past 30 pages in that book. For some reason, when I'm reading a rom-com or a romance in general, I just get like the big cheese factor, you know, like the eye roll. I have tried so many times, it just doesn't work for me. Even romantasy as a subgenre, I'm really, really picky. If it's T. Kingfisher, I love it. I love it. But I feel like even in the Paladin series, which I have right here, it's such a well fleshed out world that the romance is almost secondary to the storyline, or it's just not even secondary. I want to say it's like a bonus. It's a bonus to the storyline. So you have a really well fleshed out world with really well fleshed out characters, and you're really feeling the tension, and it works for me. I have yet to find another romantasy that is a categorized romantasy that I can resonate with. I do have a few on my bookshelves, but I have not found one yet that I have not been moved to DNF. Question number 7 asks you to look at a book that you bought that you will probably never read. And I want to say it's Dune. I bought a copy of Dune from an independent bookstore this past April. I think I just wanted to take part in the events, the independent bookstore event, and I didn't want to spend too much money because I didn't have too much money at the time. And I wanted to partake of a contest, and also if you bought a book at that particular store, they let you take an ARC home for free, and I wanted that ARC as well, or it made me feel like I was getting more value for my money. So anyway, I bought like the cheapest book that I could find there, and of course everyone has read Dune or says that they're gonna read Dune, and I'm one of those people, but realistically, I just look at the thickness of that book and I'm like, I don't know if realistically I'm ever gonna read that. There's like the Zahava that I want to be and the Zahava that I actually am, and the Zahava that I actually am is probably not gonna read Dune, and if I do pick it up, I can't see myself getting into it, which I think is kind of an unfair judgment, because how do I not know that when I pick it up, it's gonna be the most life-altering book that I've ever tried in my life? It could be, it very well could be. I'm not going to disallow for the possibility of that, but I doubt it. And I don't know, sometimes books are really, really thick, and if I'm not already sold on the author, if T. Kingfisher wrote a book that was over 1,000 pages, I would read that in a heartbeat. I don't know if I can blindly go on like blind faith alone and just read Dune. Number 8, talk about a series you have no interest in reading or a series that you have started and DNF'd. So my answer for this question is pretty simple. I have a few answers for series that I've started and DNF'd, but I think for that I will do a whole separate video. So what I can give you for the answer to this question is a series that I will never start and have zero interest in reading, and that is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. And this is solely because there was major hype for The Priory of the Orange Tree, which I somehow made my way through and have lived to regret it ever since. The Priory of the Orange Tree was the single most nonsensical, boring book that never had a point that I have ever read in my entire life. It had characters that didn't make sense for the plot or the storyline. The tension was not natural. It felt like it was forced in that book, and it did not give me the dragons that I wanted. I think that I was just disappointed in The Priory of the Orange Tree on so many levels, and I know y'all are gonna hate me for that, but I will never, ever pick up another Samantha Shannon book in my life, ever. Question number 9 asks you to identify a new release that you have no interest in reading, and for me it's going to be Bury Your Bones in the Midnight Soil. Don't ask me why, I don't know. I do own a copy of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I have not read it yet. I guess the idea of like a vampire story is like hitting me pretty hard right now. I'm having a lot of trouble connecting with the vampire plot storylines, and this is kind of causing me a little bit of worry because I do have some vampire books on my physical TBR, like The Vampires of El Norte, and I think I have Empire of the Vampire as well. And I think there's another one, The Serpent and the Wings of Night, which I believe also, if I'm not mistaken, features a vampire. And I'm sort of out of my vampire era. And this is not because I read Twilight, okay? I was way too old by the time Twilight came out to actually get on that bandwagon. It would have been like a YA book for me, and I never would have picked it up anyway. But I did read Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles, and I think after book 4 or 5, I kind of like hit my limit with those. So since then, I found it like kind of difficult to pick up vampire books. I don't know, they just don't sit well with me right now. So I'm not likely to pick up Bury Your Bones in the Midnight Soil just because it is a vampire novel, and I'm trying to ease my way back into reading vampire stories because I think I might just be over it. And with that, I want to thank you guys so much for coming to hang out with me today and learning about my anti-TBR. I would love to know from you guys in the comments if you agree or disagree, if I triggered you. I'd love to know what's on your personal anti-TBR, and also let me know if I'm making some mistakes, because I will listen to you. Thanks so much for being here. Please remember to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I will see you again in the next video. Ciao for now.